I'd like to welcome Monika Tu today. Monika has been an influential figure in the Australian luxury property sector and consistently ranked as one of the highest selling realtors in Australia. However, she's still very committed to giving back to the community and is an ambassador for the Children's Cancer Institute program CEO Dare to Cure fundraising event. It is really the stories before her success that I wanted to share with you guys. So welcome today, Monika Tu. So thank you very much for coming on the show, Monika.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. It's been a few years since I last saw you at the event that you held in ATP. That was really fun event. But since then, you've gone and done bigger and better things. Again, really thank you for coming onto the podcast, and hopefully we can talk about some stuff that, maybe inspire some other people who either, are going through some hard times or potentially even migrant communities, give them some motivation too.
Sure.
Right? You were born in Shenzhen?
No, actually, I was born in Guizhou province. Yeah.
Oh,
so
okay.
It's like a far west of China.
Sure. And you moved to Shenzhen when you were young?
Shenzhen, yeah.
Yeah. And you were born in 1962?
1962. So going to be 58 in about a week time.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
That's such a different time back then,
100%.
And so you were born in 1962 in China. At that time was a very interesting place.
Yeah.
Mao Zedong was still alive and still ruling the CCP.
Yep.
And, I think when you were about 4-5 years old, he launched the Cultural Revolution
That's right.
when you were like 4 years old or 5
Something
years
like
old, something
that,
like that. And, obviously that lasted for a long time, and there's been a huge amount of impact to anyone who was living in China at the time. Of course, my mother certainly went through it, and you would have grown up in it.
In that period. Yeah.
So, tell me a little bit about what what your experience was, or what you had to go through in that period, because that would have been super. I wouldn't say tumultuous, but I think tumultuous is the word.
Yeah. The interesting thing, Jack, is that everybody, we have a conversations about your achievement today, right? So this is actually the first time people ask about my upbringings, the way I was brought up. And so I was born, during the Cultural Revolution. So what Cultural Revolution means to my generation is, so you don't really have to study. So anything, I never really read a book in my life, to be honest, during that time. And my parents, only memories we have is, so my grandfather was the richest guy in the province, and everything's taken away from him.
Yeah.
So all anything cultural, we're talking about records, the books, we're going to talk about ties, anything cultural, anything beautiful is taken away. So my memory at the early stages, the red god to come to my house, and we were living actually whole families living in a mansion, so-called mansion, because my grandfather was really rich, but because the communists took everything. So during the Cultural Revolution, and we're still living in a compound, but bigger than a lot of other people, but like whole families, my uncles, aunties, grandfathers.
Yeah.
And the memory is, the red god come and knock at the wall and dig the wall, dig the hole, taking everything. So that's our memory. And, obviously, I was brought up and influenced by Maoism, so we're proud to be the red god. So, and the family turns against each other, it's just a bit of riots, but I was young, I was little.
Yeah.
And, behind the scenes, we still close the door, even doesn't matter how hard that is. So my family is still enjoying a little bit culture. So, my father still play like violin, harmonicas.
That's very forbidden.
Very forbidden. So if they found out, they could be actually end up in jail.
Yeah.
And we still read some poems, But in the schools, we just go to schools, but we don't really have to study at all.
Yeah.
And that's my early childhood. But by saying that, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Because, if you don't go to school, you don't have to study, or I think we have a lot of leisure times, right?
Yeah.
So we still remember the early childhood playing in the street with the other kids, kicking the balls, kicking the stones, right? So we don't have nothing.
Yeah.
But I would say I had a very happy childhood because of my family. So we're all together. I have a lot of bad memories about, some.
Yeah.
So my grandfather went to jail, and but I always say, I cannot change what's happening in my past.
Of course.
The only thing I remember is I still had a really good childhood playing with my cousins. And by saying that, in 1976, that's where the Gang of Four is, a cultural revolution is formally finished. And then the university start recruiting the students.
Yeah.
So I was the first few students actually recruited by universities.
Wow, that's amazing.
I studied only probably about 3 months, and I passed the state exam.
That's amazing.
Very smart.
But you had to study hard, I'm sure, to get there.
Yeah, I had to study really hard, but we don't have like a really strong foundation, just to say, right? But for the influence of the families giving to us, that's why I think family influence is more important sometimes than the school education.
Absolutely.
And I just pick up really quickly. And then my father gave us intense study, prepare for exams. I was one of the top students. I was only about 15 something at the time.
It sounds like you were probably one of the luckier people in China at the time to, go through to Cultural Revolution without, too much hardship. I mean, it sounded like you had enough food on the table, and you still,
No, we didn't have enough food on the table.
Okay, well,
no.
tell me.
Actually, so I see the hardship like this. I think my mom's generation really suffered.
Sure.
Because they had a really good life before the Cultural Revolution. I was born during this period. I didn't have much memories because that's the life supposed to be for me. So we didn't really have much food, but we kind of have food, but it's not much food.
Yeah.
So we can eat the meat like maybe once or twice a week.
Yeah.
So that's the happy time.
Yeah.
So, and we only wear the new clothes maybe only a Chinese New Year. So that's one of the thing. But obviously, I think I'm very lucky because I got a really good family. So we're always supporting each other.
Sure.
But we didn't have much food, but just saying that.
I just remember my mum, she grew up in those formative years in the Cultural Revolution as well. And I used to always hear stories of, when she was young, there was just never enough food. She said she obviously wasn't privileged as your grandfather in that sense. So she grew up really poor, but she told me that for 4 years straight she ate nothing but potatoes, and meat was as you said once a week. But for her it was once either Chinese New Year or a really, really special occasion. So just hearing some of those stories would have been incomprehensible to a lot of people that might be listening. That's food is scarce and meat is scarce. So did you ever think about those times and how it's shaped who you are today?
Oh, 100%. I think I just did talk a bit about my parents. Okay, because my parents probably is your mom's maybe a bit older than your mom's age. For them, it was really difficult.
Yeah,
because they had a really good life before the revolution and before the Communist Party, and everything's taken away. I think psychologically, I think they're really suffering. And they also explain the hardship. When I was born, my mom said, so they don't have any nutrition at all.
Yeah.
So there's no milk, there's no nothing. Okay, so that was like a really difficult. But I did think about the past. I think just to answer your question, of course, all your histories, all my journeys, it's as built the way I am. So I'm very positive thinking and positive person. So I always try to convince myself, remember the good times rather than the hard times. So I'm sure, even though I missed probably about school about, let's say, 14 years, right? In school, I didn't really study.
Yeah.
But those days make me actually really street smart.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, I'm very lucky. I've got the opportunity to go to university to study. But those times make me street smart and also book smart as well. So I think this all really built the way I am today.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm more like a people person, but I have a bit of knowledge. I know I need to learn and to study rather than just based on my street smarts,
of course.
Yeah.
So you had a bit of both in that
I have
respect.
a bit of both. Yeah. EQ plus IQ.
Yeah. But those times where, you were kind of fearful, you were also appreciating, because those bad times really do make you appreciate the good times, right?
Everything. I think one of the key of success for me is that it's all about gratitude.
Absolutely.
So absolutely. Where I came from, how I was born, and all my journeys, and over also my life in Australia, it's all about gratitude. So that's my version, like every day.
Yeah, and gratitude is such an important thing in anyone's life. I strongly suggest anyone who doesn't practice just being grateful.
Yeah.
Even if it's 3 things, 3 things every day. What are you grateful about? It doesn't even have to be big things. It just has to be, I'm grateful for that my daughter has good health. I'm grateful for that I'm not freezing in the winter. So, I think gratitude is really important because if you're not grateful, then you start complaining about just the most random, mundane stuff. But so. You obviously came out of university and wanted to create a better life for yourself. Why Australia? What made you think of Australia?
I think that's a really interesting question. Sometimes I ask myself, why Australia? So I went to university to study German language.
Mm-hmm.
So I now got the opportunity to work actually in Germany.
Wow.
And, I think I'm a person, whatever happens in my life, when opportunity come to me, I always think this means something.
Sure.
And, from Guizhou, I studied in Sichuan in the university and back to Guizhou working for the foreign affairs, the youngest, interpreter ever in the history, right? I think that's a very prestigious job.
Wait. So your second language is German?
It's German, yes. My third language is actually French.
Yeah. There you go.
And then, this is really interesting. So I have an opportunity. Somebody said, "Oh my God, let's come to Shenzhen." At the time it's 1985.
Yeah.
So Shenzhen just opened up to be the first economic zone.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, let's go. And I quit my government job and just go to Shenzhen to work in the project, right? Which is a German project.
Sure.
I don't know, for some reason, somebody asked me, "Monika, there's a school from Australia." I said, "Where?" Okay, to come and recruit the students. Can you organize a similar for them? I said, "Okay, I do that." As Chinese, we like to grab a bargain. And the guy from Melbourne said, "Oh my God, if you come to Australia, you know what? I'll give you a discount for your tuition." I said, "Oh, okay." So that's how I came. So that's how I came. Just come with a discount school fee and come here, just test them. So what is happening out there? And I came, I couldn't speak a word of English.
Sure.
And that's how we started. And so why Australia? I think it's just meant to be.
Just the opportunity. Yeah. Just the right moment, right?
Yeah.
What about your parents? Did they support you in stuff like this? Because that at that time, I just wanted to bring that up because I know the culture really well. At that time, you're a single woman.
Yeah.
You have decided
and
you're a girl. So girls are meant to be married by that age.
Okay, that's another question. Right? So we're going to talk about it. Yeah,
we can talk about that. So and there's expectations back in China at that time that you're married, you're having kids, you're staying at home. So for a young woman like yourself to just pick up, first of all, to move to another province is like a bit of a no-no.
Oh my God, I know.
Right?
So very funny. So I was born in 1962, right? So now you look at back in Chinese families, they have one child policy, right?
Yeah.
But my time, my parents chose to have only one child. So I'm actually an only child to my parents. Mm-hmm. So at the age of 15, and I went to university. So university is actually not in my province; it's in Sichuan province. Mm. So it's about like 11 hours, like by train, right, to that province.
Sure. Yeah.
So my parents, so one thing they would do, I remember my mom and dad just telling me, so you try everything, Okay, just take the opportunity and try everything. If you don't make it, we're always here for you.
Yeah.
I think that actually give me the way I educate my child as well.
Yeah.
So if the opportunity come to your life, as a parents, what they can do is just supporting you. So we're born in a different time, right?
Yeah.
So the opportunities are different. So they will never stop me to try or take a venture. So I went to age of 15, I went to another province and I come back to Guizhou. At the age of 23, I went to another city and quit my government job. Actually, at the time, I have already know somebody. And when I moved to Shenzhen, and it's one of the reasons for my first marriage, because my future husband is going to go there. I just followed him and then we went there.
Sure.
So my parents always supporting.
So you got married back in China.
I got married back in China,
And
when I was 24.
Was that your choice or was that kind of like
No, it's my choice. Yeah. So I met my first husband in university and he's just crazy about me, But I was like really hot
Young
at the
love.
time. Young love. And I do admire him.
Yeah.
But I think maybe at the time I was too young and too good looking. And so the marriage that moved to, at the age of 26, so 2 years later, I actually moved to Australia.
Sure.
And the marriage didn't work. But we still respect each other.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's still in Australia?
He's in Shenzhen. And he's extremely successful.
Great.
Extremely successful. But we didn't have a child. So
Okay. Yeah, so you moved to Australia and you came here, no English, here to study.
Yeah.
And you moved to Melbourne, obviously.
I landed in Melbourne.
You landed in Melbourne at RMIT?
No, I landed in RMIT and I studied in a private college. It's called Receptionist Center.
Okay.
So for about probably 6 months and I applied for scholarship with the RMIT. Not very limited English skill.
Yeah.
So I got, I think out of few thousand, I got, one of the, scholarship holder.
Wow. There you go.
So yeah. She said, how do you do it? I said, oh, okay. I said, you remember I'm very street smart.
Yeah.
Because, because people look at not just what you have been studying, people look at what you have done. I think that's great about Australian education system, right? Yeah. So when I went to interview, even my English was absolutely broken until today. Yeah. Okay, and people look at what I have done. I've been working with the project. I worked in Germany. I worked with the foreign affairs, international travel centers. I said, my God, you could be doing really well. And if you choose to study international trade, I'm going to give it to me.
Yeah,
yeah,
fantastic. So. Your then husband was in Australia with you, or you separated when you got here?
Yeah, we come here and he stayed back in China.
Okay.
At the time, China is really, is taking off, right?
Sure.
And she stayed back and I'm here and we separated.
Yeah. How hard was that for you? I mean, you had no one. You had no one. You had no English.
I have my youth.
you had your youth, of course, yeah. But at the time would have been a fairly lonely place for you.
I think it's really difficult. When you come to a new country without language skill, and you cannot communicate to start with, right?
Yeah.
And also the culture shock.
Sure.
So yeah. So remember, if I'm like 18 or 15, 16, I can quickly pick up, a language. Language is probably at the end of the day is the easiest thing, right? Because you can learn. But for learning our culture is really difficult.
Yeah.
And making friends and be part of the community is probably the hardest. So, one of the things, remember my parents always telling me, you give a go and try your very best, right? If you cannot, I always can go back to my parents and, free accommodation and free food.
Yeah.
So I studied really hard. So I went to, I think one thing about maybe a personality I have is I never seen difficulties as a difficulty. I think always see something as a challenge. Okay, so I think for your audience, if you are new migrants, I think probably something to share. So I never look back.
Yeah.
So for me, life is like a journey. So there's a destiny. It's that destiny. I mean to do that. So if this opportunity come to me, that means it's a challenge come to my way. Yeah. I just have to overcome it. So nobody's going to help me.
Yeah.
So I'm quite tough in that sense. Yeah. But I don't look tough.
Oh, I'm sure you're tough. Definitely.
But tough is not really tough on other people, tough on myself.
Of course, yeah.
So I study, English really, really hard. And at the same time, it doesn't matter how well I speak or how hard I study, how well my English is. but I have to look at my advantage, right? So I'm a Chinese. So I use my strength as a Chinese, as a woman to get what I want. For example, like get a job, what I want. I always, get good jobs, right? Because I work hard, and why not? So if I can use my language skill in Chinese rather than English, working with the people who doesn't speak English at all, that proved to my advantage. So I always look at myself and then what is my advantage, right? So because nobody can take away from me.
Absolutely. Yeah. So did you you must have experienced some racism when you got here, like the people that you work for or the people that you deal with. That must have been difficult for you too, no?
The way I might think a little bit differently in terms of discrimination, right?
Sure.
So I think if I come to a new country and I have to respect the local everything, culture, people, and instead of like judge them as a racist, I'm more looking at, is there anything I'm different? How can I improve? I don't really. So one of the things I do, I have my own disciplines or to life, right?
Sure.
So I do not complain. I don't not compare. So if something comes to my way, I look at myself first. Is there anything I can do better? Have I done anything wrong and to upset others, right? So it's me. I'm not applied to anybody else. It's just the way I look at the situations, right? Yeah. So in terms of racism, I don't really experience any racism. Personally, or maybe I do. People say, oh my God, just look at the racism, how they talk to you like this, right? So I just, of course, you don't speak a language. You have, you don't work the way it's supposed to be because you're learning. I don't even know what cappuccino is. I remember one day my teacher said, "Can you give me a cappuccino?" I said, "What?" But and so you don't even know what cappuccino is. Is that discrimination as a racism? I don't know what that is. I said, "Okay, do you mind if you can just spell for me?" I take that piece of a paper. I just go to the shop and I try on my cappuccino. This is a real story, right?
Sure.
So I think I look at different ways of in terms of discrimination or racist, right? I look at myself first and I study and I try to be part of the bigger culture. And I just ignore the people who disrespect me. But one thing I respect every single person.
Yeah.
Okay, if they disrespect me, I just ignore it.
Yeah.
If there's nothing I can do better, I just ignore it. I'll make sure it doesn't hurt my feeling.
That's a really good way of, really, really good way of approaching life. Because if you keep on looking outwards at how other people are affecting you or how judge you or they shouldn't be doing that, they shouldn't be doing this, you perpetually become the victim and you're always blaming others for something that you potentially can do something about.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really, good way to deal with life.
Yeah.
And, I'm totally for that.
If I can't change, I just be it,
Yeah, that's it.
I just make sure I do the best I can, right? So if you don't like me, you disrespect me. So I don't think that maybe because I'm a Chinese, I just look at I'm a human being, right? But I make sure I respect everybody and every culture, every religion, and everybody else.
That's really good, really great. And when you came here, what did you do for work? What was the first thing? Because you were studying, right? Yep. So I think I read somewhere that you were a waitress. Like a lot of immigrants, they work in lowly paid, lowly skilled jobs, and you were washing dishes for 12 hours a day. Tell me a bit about that.
That's really. I think you must read one of today's headline. The Chinese. I think when you come here, right, you do anything you can, any job offered to you. So I used to work in a restaurant, it's called Barbarinos, and I still remember, I don't know if they're still there. The best place for ribs. So I was actually a waitress, right? Yeah. So I cannot even carry that plate because, literally I'm a little Chinese woman, carry that massive plate, have a ribs. So I keep dripping, I don't know, I never trained to be a waitress, right? So I worked there. And I will work in a school because, I have a bit of a typing skill. So I start teaching in the school typings. I was like a babysitter. And I think I tried lots of things. I started selling like insurance, selling cosmetics. And again, if you think about where I came from, okay, I have a very prestigious job in China.
Sure.
So I used to in and out with the stretching limos.
Yeah.
So I work with all the international companies. I was like the first interpreter in my province in German. And then you change your situation to a foreign country.
Yeah.
And without language, without like any skill. To be honest, if I wash the dishes, I cannot even do it properly.
Yeah.
Until today, my husband said, leave it to me, right? If I wash it, just to wash it again. So I'm not even good at that. But you try everything, because how do you know if you never try?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I might be perfect dishwasher, So I tried everything. I was like really hard. But the hard thing is actually job, because I'm not really good at it.
Yeah.
It's not hard. But the hardest for a lot of people is that, can you let go your past and pick up whatever is in your front, in front of you, and do the best you can? So obviously proving, washing dishes is not my thinking, right? So I can't. But again, I never knew I was actually a really good salesperson. Never.
Sure. Yeah.
Never, because I was an interpreter, right? So and I start selling like insurance and cosmetics. I said, wow, hello, I can sell. So it's a new life for me. And the things I really enjoy everything I do.
Yeah.
If you talk back, you think back what I have done. So sometimes I surprise myself.
Yeah.
I think for people, Jack, for the new migrants is you have to change your mindset.
Yeah.
You have to really grab every opportunity and do the best you can right in front of you.
Yeah.
And don't worry about the past. Yeah.
But even for anyone, anyone in business or anyone in their pursuits in life, I think it's really important to grab every opportunity in front of you, because again, it's not going to get there by itself, and certainly
100%.
Someone's not going to give it to you.
Yeah.
So you moved from Melbourne to Sydney.
Yes.
And that, which year was that? That was in...
I was 1992. 1992.
92.
Yeah.
And you came to Sydney after you finished your studies, and you started working at Paddy's Market.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you, again, needed a job and you wanted to...
nobody wanted to employ me.
Nobody wanted to employ you.
Nobody wanted to employ me, yeah.
And so you started working at Paddy's Market.
So this is actually a story. So you must have watched the Almost Australian. So, I just did a beautiful program with the ABC. I was talking about, this is funny, right? I just couldn't, now I still laugh at myself, have the bum back, just came in cash, right? So, this should carry a Birkin now, you know what I mean? So, again, it's another life change. I did quite well in Melbourne. And the one opportunity I had is in Sydney, and for job interview, I came here from Melbourne, and from Melbourne, I decided, oh my God, Sydney is such a beautiful city, right? So you got the harbour, you got Opera House, and it's just so cool. So I decided to stay, but again, I just couldn't find a job.
Sure, so no one wanted to employ you.
No, nobody wanted to employ me, and I applied for a job with, actually, the first job I tried to apply is selling the UGG boots at the Paddy's Market. And the lady said, oh, no. I said, I want only $42 a day. It's literally nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
Nothing. And she said, I don't know if maybe I'm too good looking or something. He said, no, you can't. It doesn't give it to me. So I applied for a council receptionist. I couldn't get a job at all. And one of my friends, and very, very, very kind to offer me a job in a computer company. So what they do, they import the floppy diskettes. Yeah. So those days, I'm like, the floppy diskettes. And I work Monday to Friday as a receptionist and sales, and I do extremely well. And then on the weekend, I just take the floppy diskette selling around. It's not just a Paddy's Market. I sell or the computer market, Town Halls, Newcastle. Yeah. And just imagine, look at me today, right, with a bum bag. That's pretty impressive, I work literally 7 days a week for many, many years. Yeah. Many years, I think look back that's how it built me today, right? And I sometimes I amaze myself, from such a high position to, to Melbourne, studying language, studying, night schools and the RMITs, and then to Sydney again and start all over again. And that was like,
you just keep on going back to zero.
Back to zero. I hope it's no, I'm 58 next week. I hope it's another zero. But actually I start something else. And I think I will keep challenging myself.
Absolutely. I think that's your personality obviously lets you to go back to zero and start again. And you just
never afraid.
No, you just look at the situation now and you just go, well, I'll do this now. So that's really, really inspiring. Now, so in Paddy's Market, you were selling floppy disks and CDs, and you were traveling around trying to sell these CDs.
Yeah.
And so you realized that you couldn't make enough money on the weekend because you couldn't work longer. You couldn't do another day because the markets were only on the weekends.
Oh gosh, where did you get that script from? Yeah, that was my speech. Yeah.
So what did you do?
I think we have to work hard is number one, but you have to work smart as well. I work literally 7 days a week, and I have no time left for myself. Right, no more time. But how can I be a little bit smarter? So. And then I decided to join another company. And actually, this is really funny. It's so amazing. This is my second husband, just for your information.
Yeah.
So I get a stock from one of the corner shop in Surrey Hills.
Sure.
You remember these days at the Winsworth Avenue, there's an Action Suzuki. Opposite is a shop called the Aroma Computers. Oh my God,
sure.
a very stupid name. But anyway, so I joined them. I took some stock from them for the weekend, right? And I said, look, is that okay if I can come out work for you, during the week? He said, okay, of course you can, because I'm a really good salesperson. I said, look, how much you pay me? I said, I pay you $300. I said, oh my God, $300 a week?
Yeah.
I said, no problem, but I pay you 10% for everything you sell. So first month, I make like $4,000 extra. This is 1994.
Yeah.
Okay, 1994, 4,000 extra besides of what you make, plus the weekend mark. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So, and then we said, look, because we work together like literally 7 days a week, and I influenced him to come to the market with me. And he was single, I was single. I said, you know what? He said, we should keep the money in the family, right? So maybe we should get married. I said, oh yeah, that's a good idea. So I'm married to Hong, is my ex-husband, for about 12 years, and we have a beautiful daughter. But think about the past years and working with Hong and 7 days a week, we really built our empire. Okay, so market is never. So if I work, my thing is, if I work on a project or on a thing, I never think this is the end game. So what can this one build me for next step? So when I work in the market, obviously, you can sell very quickly stock but for me, I cannot see myself like at the age of 50 still working in the market, right? So physically, you're probably exhausted. So we thought, how can I grow this corner shop in Surrey Hills to at the beginning, national company, then become an international company.
Yeah.
And we did grow that company to an international company. So, so Laser Corporation has, all the branches in New Zealand, Hong Kong, China.
Yeah.
And doing extremely well from that corner shop. And we moved to Alexandra. So we literally bought a warehouse in Alexandra. And we grow that Alexandra office to a warehouse to it's a Macquarie Park, massive warehouse. The company is still very successful.
Yeah, it's still operating today.
Operating today.
So while you were growing the Laser Corporation, right? Because this is the part that I really wanted to, this period of your life is really what I wanted.
Nobody asked that before.
I really wanted
you
to
all
talk.
the secret.
So the during that time, you were selling products from that shop. And you were trying to go and approach people like Harvey Norman and those department stores, right? Dick Smith.
Yeah.
Now, was it difficult for you to approach them? Because
very difficult.
I mean, you're a Chinese woman that don't really understand about computers, but you're good at selling.
Fantastic at selling.
Right?
Really
good at selling.
Yeah.
How did you knock those doors down? I mean, how did you knock those walls down and actually get in there? Because that's part of the, big success that you had.
Correct. I think one thing is as a business leader, so if you're good at something, you cannot be good at everything. Okay. So one of my strengths is I really have a really good, network or the staff I have or the friends I have. So this is all my network, and we really empowering each other and helping each other. So, let's go back to the laser, right? This is really interesting. So I tell you what actually open the doors. So number one, if you want to work with the bigger companies, you have to have some unique selling point. So who are you? So are you a laser corporation? Who the hell is a laser corporation, right? So you have to have a unique product and make it like desirable for the market. So people probably will come and knock at your door, right? But not a laser. Laser, they've got so many products in the market. So they would definitely not, they're very arrogant, right? So you're talking about the Harvey Norman, Dick Smith, and no office at the time, Myers, and how can they come and lock your door? They, even know where the door is, they will never lock your door, right? So this is what I did. From that corner shop, I become number one distributor for Kodak International. So this is what happened. This is really interesting story. And Kodak doesn't exist anymore.
And so, that particular CD or the Kodak Gold were the epitome of my childhood. Right. So
really?
this is where I always wanted to talk to you about, because Kodak Gold, I used to, like a lot of us, anyone who grew up in the 90s, right, were burning CDs, were copying, were buying rewritable CD-ROM, buying rewritable CD-ROMs.
CD recorders,
burning albums, burning games, whatever it may be. And, I used to buy a ton of those CDs from Harvey Norman, right, and especially the Kodak Golds. And I used to then buy, copy albums and then sell it on to my friends. So I made money off your money.
If you know me, I give you discounts from your original recordable CDs.
But a lot of people did that, right? That was just what people did. It was kind of like, before CDs was the cassettes. So, with the Walkmans, and, you copy a tape for another mate, and then, you get $5 for it or whatever. So, so you became the number one Kodak distributor in the world.
Okay.
Just from a little shop in Surrey Hills.
A little shop in Surrey Hills. This is what happened, right? This is really, actually a really interesting story. I hope your audience can have some takeaway, right? So, remember this little shops in Surrey Hills, and next to our shop, there's a recording studio.
Okay.
Yeah, whatever they call themselves, like a music recording studio. And it doesn't matter in any industry, in technologies or podcasts or whatever, you have to be open-minded. So one of the guys come and say, "Oh my God, I want to buy a recordable CD." I said, "What the hell is a recordable CD?" Because never heard about it. Remember, we have floppy disks. And I said, one of the biggest brands called Mitsubishi at the time, right? Yep. And I said, "Oh my God, how can I get this Mitsubishi CD and sell to this person?" That was like $30 each piece. And I go and knock on the door, and nobody has got anything because it's so new. And one of my friends, and he's got some connections from, somewhere, I don't know. And his name is Mr. Wu, Lau Wu. We call him Lau Wu. I said, "Oh, Monika, I got a product to offer to you." I said, what is it? Recordable CDs, Mitsubishi. I said, "My God, bring it over." So he brought like a box of 10 pieces. He sold to me $25 each. I made a lot of money, by the way. I bought it because, as a small shops, $25 and box of 10 is a lot of money. And you don't even know where you can sell or not. He said, "Give me 10 boxes. So I want $20. It's okay. I took $20 and I sold to the next door recording studio, piece by piece, right? So $30 each or $35 each. So that's really, sometimes people approach you or asking for something. You have to be like really savvy to really
open.
know.
You have to
be really open, right? So you have to know. So, "Oh no, I don't have it." No, how can I find it? If 2 people asking you, that means there's a demand.
Yeah.
If 5 people ask me, that means a huge demand. So that will actually help me to open that CDR market.
Yeah.
And I start selling for my next door neighbor, right? And the one day I said, "Look, Mitsubishi is not enough anymore. And how can I get Kodak? Because Kodak is the hottest thing in the world because it's gold. Mitsubishi is blue." I still remember. I still got good memory. And Kodak is gold. Everybody wants gold.
Yeah.
I don't know how much was that, maybe $40 each or something. And I got a friend, and I should mention his name. He's actually one of a very good friend, right? He used to supply me with the floppy disks.
Yeah.
His name is John Lee. So John's brother is working for Kodak Chemical. He's in the Kodak Chemical company. I said, "John, can you help me to call Kodak to see if I can buy something from them?" And I don't speak English. My English was so terrible, right? He's the one who picked up phone and call Kodak. get a connection. And Kodak said, who are you? Oh, wow, okay, this is like a, Aroma Computers at the Surrey Hills. I said, oh, okay. And I said, talk to my distributors. At the time, there are few big distributors. This is all relevant. So they're Corporate Express, if you remember.
Yeah.
They have like something like Daisy Technology. And I asked Kodak, right, how many Corporate Express buy? So they buy like, I remember 33 pieces per carton. Or they buy about 10 cartons at a time. I asked them, I said, how much, if you want to be better than somebody else, you have to take some risk, right?
Yeah.
I said, how many is in a pallet? They said 33 boxes in a pallet. So Corporate Express, a public listed company, take 10 boxes. You want to take a pallet? I said, give me a pallet. He said, how do you pay? I said, I will pay cash. So, but I don't have remember I have my small shop. I said, where should we deliver? I said, deliver to my house in Denniston East. Literally, that whole pallet is lined up in my warehouse or in my garage. That's how I get the trust from Kodak. Okay, and then Kodak, besides all the publicly listed company, so my computer shop is the most successful computer shops, corner shops, and selling Kodak.
Yeah.
And when the Kodak, I sell so many of them. One thing, you might wonder, where do you sell them to? Market.
Yeah.
So that's how I get very quickly over my stock and pay them on time. And I build a reputation with Kodak.
Yeah. And so just going back to how you got into Harvey Norman before I sidetracked you.
No, Harvey Norman, I tell you,
Yeah, so you ended up getting the distribution for Kodak and you had to go and try and sell it to these big department stores. I mean, what did you do? Like, it would have been super difficult.
This is really, really interesting. So, Harvey Norman buys from a Corporate Express. Okay, so for me, there's no way they will buy from a little shop. At the time, so the year later, we already moved to Alexandra. We have a proper warehouse. So this is what happened. So I was selling a Kodak. I was selling TDK at the time. I was selling Verbatim, remember?
Yep.
And these three products, literally we're a distributor, right?
Sure.
For the smaller corner shops, they buy from us in the market.
Yeah.
But I was telling my ex-husband at the time, I said, look, if you're a distributor, so they can end you like tomorrow. Tomorrow, say, I don't supply to you anymore. Instead of, Corporate Express have $5, I give you $6. You cannot sell it, right?
No.
I said, when you are on the top of your game, so you really have to think about what's the next step. So I said, look, I know we're a very good distributor, but the way distributor doesn't mean you own your own products. So I actually sent my ex-husband, or actually myself too, to the factory who makes TDK. I said, now I want to start my own brand. Okay, this is called Laser. Okay, so then TDK is tier 1, a grade 1 product. So Laser, it can never be grade 1 because I don't have marketing budget. I always look at myself. I can never be a big corporation like anybody else.
Yep.
I'm only Laser, a street smart Chinese woman selling Monday to Friday to the shops and weekend on the market. Right? So Laser become a secondary product. I don't know if you copy me.
We did.
That you did, right?
I used to buy Laser. I remember it
Thank you very
well.
much, right? So Laser, Kodak selling for $2.
Yeah.
So TDK maybe $1.80. So Laser is always 80 cents.
Yeah.
Always 80 cents, but we make more margin. So Laser becomes so big and TDK canceled my distribution because Laser eventually become a competitor with TDK. So this is the Kodak story. How did I get to Harvey Norman? This is very, if I think about it, oh my God, I'm so clever. Remember I have my Laser product now. And I would say about 1998, so Kodak actually stopped the whole production in the world. So I got two gentlemen coming from, one from Melbourne, one from Rochester, from US, come and see me. I said, oh my God, am I in trouble? They said, no. So we are closing whole production because they had a failed joint venture with the Panasonic. Okay, they want to offload all their product to one company, and they want to give it to me. So I said, why me? Because number one, I always pay on time.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, pay on time. Good reputation. I said, but my warehouse is too small. I cannot take a worldwide supply. I said, no problem. We can rent or lease a warehouse next to you. And then you can sell as much as you like. And as a smaller company, I make quick decision. Because a corporation, a public listed company, you have to go through board. But corporate decision, you have to do it now. And I said, I take it. Remember, I like to take the risk, but all the risk is calculated, right? I'm not just, I know I can sell it. So Kodak actually helped me to open the doors to all the big stores.
Okay, yeah.
So when Harvey wants to buy Kodak, because I'm the only one in the world has got the stock, they have to buy. You buy, like you buy Hermes, you buy a bag, you have to buy some clothing, right? So you buy one box of Kodak, you have to buy 2 boxes of laser. So that's how the laser get to all the big stores. But again, all the retailers, they're looking at the margins. So actually, laser can make a lot more margin than any other branded products.
Yeah,
so that's how I get to all the big chain stores.
Yeah, that's really a good way of getting there, because you would have definitely hit some roadblocks in your earlier days to sell that, because it's a low margin, very competitive space. And
but we're ready, right? So when the doors open for you, do you have anything to sell? So your knowledge, your products, your resources, what do you have? So when the opportunity comes, but you have to be ready. You have to be prepared a couple of years before actually the opportunity come to you.
Absolutely.
So the Kodak has prepared me for the doors opening, but I have the product ready to go into it side by side. Thank you very much.
That's such an that's such an amazing story, because I was I grew up in the 90s, and anyone, as I said, who grew up around that era knew about, burning CDs and a lot of people don't know that you were instrumental behind all of that.
I was the queen of CDR.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing. That's people would, definitely not have known that. But it takes it takes a lot of tenacity and a lot of resilience to be in that industry, and also to conquer something that's quite volume based. But you did it, and so you were really quite successful, and then you became the highest selling distributor in the world.
Yes,
and you took all this stock.
The only one has good stock,
right? So all the successes came to you, but then your marriage, it ended.
Yes. So I think in about 2000, I think sometimes marriage is an interesting thing. Okay, it really depends on what it's based on. So I think look at my marriage with my husband home, right? It's based on business. So up to today, I think I'm still business partner with him.
Sure.
Right. So when you build more business grow into a certain level. So because I'm a person, remember, I just keep going, right? So I want to grow more, maybe that we'll call that spiritually.
Yeah.
Okay. But home is still. So we talk about what is the number one priority at this stage of your life, right? So at the beginning of my life, it's about business. I just enjoy it, and then we enjoy our success and selling. But at one stage, business to a different level. I enjoy a little bit of my downtime with my daughter, so maybe personal growth as well. But home's number one priority is still business. I think he can be like a perfect business partner. Okay, but in life, we just grow a little bit apart, but we respect.
Yeah.
Okay, so grow apart, and now Hong is already married. 2007, we divorced, but we're still business partner because I'm a smart woman. So you cannot. So you've been together for literally 12 years, right? You cannot say, "Oh, he's a bad person." I make a mistake. It's nothing mistake. In the past, nothing's a mistake. It's just a journey. And I look at all
That's
the
a
best
really good way to look at it.
100%. Yeah, all the things, good things that I have to with him. We built the business, work 7 days a week, and we travel around the world, and everything. We make the right business decisions. Why you want to eliminate all these things in the past? What built you up, and treat him like a person? But he's not a perfect husband. I might not be the perfect wife for him either, right? So for that reason, and we just separate our different ways. So we did, we did a lot of counselings. Went to the Anthony Robbins and all this. And we just, grown different way. And Hong is very happy. And happily married. I've got 2 beautiful children. And actually, his wife is actually my friend, right?
Yeah.
We have a daughter together. So we have a really happy, big family.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things I think I want to share with a lot of women. So everybody suffer imperfect marriages and divorces and stuff like that, right? And for me, it's we always look forward and look at the best thing. When you're separate, look at what's the best thing you do in that marriage, And Hong and I are still business partners. So we still have a lot of joint venture together. But we're not friends, definitely, because friends, you have to be close. We have our space. We respect each other. But in terms of business, we really still do trust each other.
Yeah. That's really really great way of looking at life. Just going back a little bit, actually, when you had your daughter with Hong, that must have been a tough time, right? Like, because you had your business, going through the roof at the time.
Yeah.
And then you had your daughter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that would have been hard for you too, right? Like to have a newborn and at the same time, because you had your daughter in what,
1998.
98?
Yeah, I was like 36 years old, which is a very precious at that age. It is very difficult. I think as a woman,
what did you do?
Oh gosh, as a woman in business, and you really have to have a life and like a family and balance.
And especially in Chinese culture, well, the era you're born in, you're meant to be at home.
Yes. Yeah. I didn't stay at home until the last week. I still went to the market. I still remember when I put my seatbelt is under my tummy, I still carry the boxes and stuff like that, right? But so if you look back, it was really hard, physically really difficult, and also in terms of time, I was literally like exhausted, every day, right? But I have my goal, and I have to build a business. One day I can retire, and I works just so hard. And the daughter comes in. I think sometimes you have some regrets in your life. My God, I should be staying home. And about a month after she was born, I hit straight back to work.
Wow.
Yeah, I did have, ask my mom, to come and help me.
Yeah.
And it's a really difficult, but we're very focused on that. That's the thing, right? I want to shift my focus a bit with my daughter, but my husband still expect me to be like 9 to 5 and 7 days a week.
Sure.
So that's probably the reason we separate as well. Yeah. But I respect, right? Because for him, like business, his business success is so important for him. But it's not about the money. It's about getting things done perfectly. But nobody's perfect. If you don't have that time to, brush your hair and look pretty and go on time, go to work on time and come back, you have to. It's hard.
Yeah. That's
how I think one of the reasons we're separate as well.
Yeah.
And so we have different priorities.
People change, and I guess it's a good thing that you recognize that and be true to yourself.
Yeah,
I mean, how often do people stay in marriages and stay in relationships and be unhappy because one person is being dragged or the other person is being, feels resentful that they don't support each other, whatever the reasons may be. But for you guys, you've tried and you decided that it was time to sort of move on. And, 2007, you separated and you also...
So we separated about the end of 2006, right? So
sure.
Divorced and
sure.
So, yeah.
And you decided to have a retirement.
Yeah.
Early retirement.
I really enjoyed it, so my... But just back to the marriage thing, Jack.
Sure.
So like a Hong, I really respect him as a business partner. So if he can look after my business, and before I actually decided to step away from the business, I've already put some seeds, right. So my personal assistant is with me up to date about 23 years now. She's just absolutely fantastic, and she's like a housekeeper.
Sure.
Yeah. So I give her some of my share in the business. So, I think one thing I say is if you want to grow, you have to let go.
Yeah.
Your money, your ego, your whatever that is. So I let go some of my share. And I also hire somebody because I look at the business, what is our strengths and the weakness. So our strength is like we have a really good family-oriented business. It's very family. So we work hard. We love what we do. We know every single staff and we're part of their family. But the disadvantages, me and my ex-husband, we're never been corporate trained. So remember, I'm street smart. I come from China, literally not much education at all. So how can you grow this business to a different level? So in about 2003, so I already hired somebody who is like corporate trained, we call it corporate tiger, right, from Panasonic.
Sure.
So I've already built a team to support my husband. So 2007, I decided to step away, enjoying shopping, travel. So 2 years, I had a really good time. I'm with my daughter, lots of traveling, lots of champagnes, and so it was good time. I still remember.
You finally got to enjoy, some of the hard work.
Yeah, finally, I break away, I move away, and finally enjoying something what is missing last over 10 years time, right?
And did you during that time, did you think back on some of the mistakes that you made and what you would probably do differently if you were to do another business? Because surely after 2 years you start to get bored of the shopping.
Yeah, very bored. I was so bored. What you do is when my daughter went to a private schools. Normally we'll drop the kids, we'll have a coffee, and then we'll have lunch, and then we go shopping. I pick the kids, and just gossips, and I got so bored. One thing I think is I have a purpose in life. Okay, I always look at myself I cannot be just doing this kind of thing. So I look at other. So I respect other moms, and but I think I can do much better. So I think God give me a purpose. So I always look at that way. Yeah, I get really bored. I thought, okay, maybe time to do something new.
Sure.
And at the time, I met my new husband now. Mm-hmm. So, God bless, right? My husband is a devoted Christian.
Yeah.
And he was much younger than me, very good looking. And also, okay, what can we do? How can we build something? How can I, number one thing is how can I work with the new opportunities and new partner and build something new based on the mistake I made in the past, right?
Yeah.
Then we start 2009, so we start Black Diamonds.
Ah.
Yeah,
so that's how it.
That's how it happens.
Was it hard telling your daughter that your mum and your dad are separating and no longer living together, and you have to now, get used to that? Because she would have been what?
She was about 8, and I was very hard. But I think the way I work with my daughter is I think I just set an example. So I never ask my daughter what to do or not to do. But of course I have, we have our boundaries, but I always try to set an example as a hardworking mom.
Mm-hmm.
And my daughter just joined my business, by the way, right? So, private educated now is a brilliant property manager in my business. And
Great.
I'm really proud of her. She should be a doctor. She actually got a medicine,
sure.
She said, "Oh my God,
wow.
And she doesn't want to do it. She doesn't want to study media communication and be a property manager." I think as long as she's healthy, mentally healthy, and do whatever she wants to do, and become passionate about what she does, and that's it. Yeah, it was very hard. I think some situations depends how you create it. Okay, you make it hard for the children. If I just give you a really simple example, we have a rule in the house. When I'm with my partner, we never talk bad about her dad or her family. Never, ever. So never. And my daughter has a rule too. When you go to a daddy, you never talk about the mommy, right? Because if you come to this, because kids are very smart. And we don't want the kids to take side as well.
No, of course.
Yeah, in our household, at the beginning, she was very resilient to my partner, or my husband now. But my husband, very supportive. So we do everything. We're very supportive, in everything, emotionally, a daily, just from breakfast to dinner, and whatever she wants, we just work, with her and to support her. And in the schools, we always support her. And she now, my husband now, is spend more time than her dad.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard, but depends how you set the boundary as well.
Yeah.
So we never whinge, we never talk about the past, about bad experiences and stuff like that.
Sure.
And it helps her to grow,
to move on as well, right?
100%. And we always tell her you're very lucky. You have 2 dads now. You have 2 mothers, and then you have a brother and sister. So everywhere we go, we always buy presents for her. These little things really let her feel it's natural. Marriage, sometimes cannot be. Maybe it doesn't last forever. We wish it's going to last forever, but it doesn't mean. But if it doesn't, we just have to. Look at the current, what's happening right now. Take the best out of, unfortunate, right?
Absolutely.
She's okay. She's good.
Yeah. No, I'm sure she's doing really well. But also she has a really good example from a mother that shows her how, you can live your life.
Yeah, 100%. I try my best.
So you said you've been, like, obviously when you met Jad, there's a quote here that I'd like to read out if you don't mind. You said, if you've been through a couple of marriages like I have and lost trust along the way, it's very important to get it back. And Jad, obviously your current husband, gave that trust back to you. What was it like, being able to trust and not having confidence? Because, after the second marriage, you must have felt certain ways about, moving forward with another partner.
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. And I think a lot of maybe divorced women will be thinking, right? Because the worst thing is if you feel you are a victim of something, 100% you lose the trust. So I did twice, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't lose trust in the person. I think two of my previous husbands, they're very excellent for their individual way, their own way, right? I respect that. I probably lost the trust about is the marriage really working? How long is that going to last, right?
Sure.
And but with Jad, because he's a devoted Christian and he's 20 years my junior. And
good
somehow, oh, thank you. Yeah, I think I'm very lucky. But somehow one thing is that I'm a risk taker.
Yeah.
So I take the risk to embrace, right? I take the risk of, being with Jad and much junior and say, I look at what have I got to lose. That's what most of people say, what have I got to lose? But I look at it and say, look, I don't really have much to lose, right? Yeah. He's really good looking and he's a really good person. And let me just give another go.
Yeah.
And he really helped me to build up my confidence. Number one, I look at, remember I'm a businesswoman as well. I think, oh my God, what is loss? You have a balance, right? You work out. Number one, he gave me a lot of joy in life. And he said a good example as a Christian man. And number two, he's really good looking. And he gave me a lot of confidence,
Sure.
If he doesn't want me anymore, so I think next time around it's going to be better because as a divorced woman, as a Chinese, at the time I was 45 years old and with a daughter, and that was really fat at the time. I was 67, kilos. And if I have this new man in my life, they built me a confidence for next journey. You see what I mean?
Sure.
So I'm very calculating in that sense. So I just give him everything. I give him my trust, my love, my I just give another go.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just don't think people say, oh my God, you're so successful. What about if he, divorce you, take your money and say, you know what? So money is one thing, right? So money doesn't bring you happiness. No. But of course, money brings you some security, right? But I thought, okay, let's just open up our books and work together. God bless. I since I really believe in God, I said, look, I'm a good person. If I have to lose a person like him, maybe I'm not good enough, but I think I'm so good.
Sure.
And I've learned so much. So why I will lose him, right? So I give him just everything. I open whole book. So I have nothing to hide. And that take me to a different level. And at the moment, I think, do you read that Triangle of Life, right? I'm really on the very top level of my life. So I'm very spiritual.
No, that's really amazing.
Spiritual. Yeah.
And I think that's a really, really good way to, again, to look at relationships, because when you go into a relationship, fearful of perhaps, he might take my money, or perhaps that this person might do this if it doesn't work out. What are my backup plans? And look, if you think that way, there's often this saying that, whatever you have your mind on, you create the reality. Right.
Yes.
So if you keep on saying in your mind, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, eventually you will get that, because that's what you spend your time thinking about.
That's what you focus on. That's what you get.
Yeah. So, I always use this analogy where if you are in a room and I said to you, Monika, don't look at the clown in the other corner of the room, what are you going to do eventually? You're going to look at the clown, right? So, and I think that's super important for listeners to understand, or to hear from you, and to do, hopefully, is focus on things that you do want and give it a chance, because the alternative is that it's not going to happen.
Yeah. we have only one life.
Yeah.
Just give it a go.
Yeah.
And do the best you can. If if something happens, just keep moving. I think everybody can do it.
Yeah,
but
I think so.
The good things to back off is in terms if something happened, I think that I was telling all my friends that take that what if out of your dictionary. Just things happen to your life for a reason, right? Just take the opportunity, give it a go.
Yeah.
And the worst thing happen is fall back on the religion or spiritual, or believing something,
or fall back to where you are now.
Exactly. Fall back to my parents. So what have you got to lose? Right?
Yeah.
What have you got to lose?
Yeah.
But of course, you have to trust the people you meet, the opportunities you take.
Yeah.
So you have to use all your knowledge in the past to make the judgment before you actually make the move.
Yeah.
Okay, if I see this gentleman, is alcoholic, is a drug addict, but of course I'm not going to fall into that trap, right? So I'm smart enough to have the same value at least.
Yeah.
And then we move forward all together.
Yeah. No, that's really amazing. Amazing way to look at life. I think more people should look at the at their life and how they live their life more like the way you do, which is embrace what's in front of you today and keep on going.
Yeah, keep on going.
Yeah. So no, it's really it's really amazing. And then you finally moved into real estate with Jazz.
Yes.
And here comes zero again.
I know. Listen, how do you choose?
Not zero. I mean, you've got your financial security, but you're still...
It's zero.
Yeah, it's zero in the sense that you're starting from scratch again in another industry.
Yeah. A male-dominated.
A male-dominated industry.
Yeah.
But from what you've said, it sounds like you don't allow yourself to be the victim, right? And you don't allow yourself to have a pity party. So you say to yourself, okay, well, it's a male-dominated industry. How can I take advantage of that?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So how did you take advantage of that?
So, remember we talking about I built another business in the past. And for new businesses, of course, you have to learn from your mistakes, right? So the mistakes is I'm not really corporate trained and I don't know all this massive softwares. And I thought, real estate is perfect. It's like a family business. Yeah. So I'm very much from the marketing background. So everything we do, we have to look at ourselves. What are we different from others? Okay, so we call that, you have what is your personal brand?
Sure.
Okay, I look at myself. I know nothing about real estate. I got a couple of properties before. I know nothing about real estate, but I'm Chinese and I speak Chinese, and I have I know how to build a team, right? I know how to go. I don't want to go back to the market anymore just by saying that, right?
Sure.
So, how can I build a brand which will target a particular market? And that's how, I thought, okay, I enjoy a bit of luxury. Remember my shopping days really built me up. I said, I know where the Cartier shop is. I know what the rich people do, where they travel. How can they, go to a yacht or, take a private jet, whatever that is. I think, can I build something actually I'm passionate about and I know better than average people? So there's nothing wrong selling like a $200,000 but there's nothing wrong with that. But just build something. Because I was like 45 at the time, 47, actually. So build something actually I know a little bit better than other people. And I enjoyed it. So I built Black Diamonds based on what I know. Mm-hmm. And to suit a market who want to know what is Australian lifestyle. Yeah. So suits that migrant who doesn't speak English. So when I come to this country, then nobody's helping us, right? So we have to build our own way. But when the people come to this country, they're already built up. Can they trust somebody to lead them to a lifestyle they deserve? To lifestyle, what is a lifestyle? So it's East meet West. I get a bit of a sense of luxury. So that's how I built Black Diamond. Sounds really expensive, So we,
But really, that came from selling CDRs.
Yes, from CDR. So I know the good things, Jack, from my CDR days, I never been I was in touch with what's happening back in China.
Yeah.
I really understand. It's not about language. Oh, you speak English, you can sell luxury property. No, absolutely not.
No, not at all.
It's it really understand your audience, your targeted market, what they're looking for. They're looking for somebody they can trust because nobody trusts a real estate agent, to be honest.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't call myself a real estate agent. I'm a property concierge. You know, like sounds really cool, right?
But I think your femininity really helps with that because you, as a woman, especially in that bracket, right? You bring a sense of caring, warmth to the sale rather than here's the property, I'm going to make my commission and I'm going to tell you what I have to tell you to make the sale, right? So I think in that way, is that something that you looked at or is that something that you believed in?
Oh, yes, 100%, right? Woman, listen, right? So we're female. So we have to use our female energy or female advantage, to do whatever we want to do.
Sure.
And, real estate is just so dominated, especially in luxury properties, right? So, I started with like eastern suburb. You have literally 47,000 agencies, like 150, like a top agent selling it. So, I'm a woman, a Chinese, speak like a Chinglish, broken English. How can you be better than, all of them?
Yeah, of course.
So, of course we can. So, number one is like, our audience, they don't speak Chinese and they're not women, right? So, woman is more, so my business, so when you start a business, you have to be a little bit vision. Now, bit of a nurturing. So this industry is lack of, everybody's transactional.
Yeah.
Right? So we sell this property, but for us, it's more like a nurturing a relationship. In a high-end market, it's about, maybe this time I didn't get your listing, but doesn't really matter. You learn something from it. If you have the listings, how can you work a little bit closer with the vendors? Maybe we don't sell this time. How can I come back to you and do it next time?
Sure.
Okay, because property is not sell, all the time. Once you hit the market, you sell. No, especially for high ends, it's a little bit longer period, and you have to target the right audience. It's a lot of things behind it. So as a female, I think we can be so privileged, right? Just a bit of lesson.
Yeah.
Just shut up and just listen to people and put a strategy back and just caring about people. Remember, it's a life saving.
Yeah.
Okay. They have the $10 million or $20 million property in your hand. You have something to offer to them. At least you can listen and sit and the nurturing. And property is not hard to sell.
Yeah.
People like it, they will buy. I think I used to sell insurance. That's hard, right? So it's not hard, but how can you really work with the vendors to bring them the maximum profit? You do the best you can to get the maximum return. That's the strength, right?
Yeah.
That's a skill.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we're doing a really good job.
Yeah, I think you guys are doing an excellent job, and I think you set a really good example for equality. I think you're one of the really great examples for modern day feminism, I believe, which is not so much, hey, why are there no women in real estate? Well, why not? Why not? And the thing is, you've set an example by going into a male-dominated industry, and you've created a niche because of who you are, and you looked at things very differently, and still be able to become quite successful in that industry, and not through the fact that, hey, I deserve to be there because I'm a woman, but because you said I can bring something different as a woman.
100%.
And I think that's the lesson that I want to give. I want to teach my daughter. When she eventually grows up, I want to tell her, hey, look, there's different ways in life to be successful, and not just because you're a member of the different sex, you can still succeed. Right?
And you don't really have to change yourself.
No,
I'm not talking about the other industries, just real estate, because so much bully, so much ego. You don't want to be one of them. So you don't want to be, but some women be influenced by, I have to be tough. I have to be I have to look tough. I have to act tough. I don't think so. Yeah. So if you want to be, just be yourself. I think it's much more powerful. Much more powerful than you just copy somebody else, and you'll be happier.
Absolutely.
So I think the good thing is that maybe get a mentor, just discover who you really are. And sometimes, be feminine is just, I think it's just brilliant. And, the good thing is that I don't want to look like a man, right? So I don't want to act like a man.
Of course.
But in terms of the skill, but we have to develop skill as good as men. Some of men are fantastic. I mean, seriously, we have really some brilliant agent. And, we just, we use something they don't have, but we can learn what they have. So skills that we can learn. Why not?
Yeah.
Right. Men are sometimes be better because they're, I don't know, more logical, maybe, But what about way more emotional,
Yeah.
So we can use that things, So any industry we're in, and just back to the CD days, I always joke, right? I saw millions and millions of recordable CD. I never copied one CD in my life. And seriously, I don't have to. I don't know. I don't never build a house myself. I sell beautiful houses, but I understand. I understand what the consumer is looking for, right? My vendors is asking, the buyers need. So we put them together. We're a mediator. So we just put things together by using our strength. Never copy a CD in my life until today.
That's so
no idea.
That's so funny. I was speaking to the guys here earlier today, and I said, "Hey, I think you guys might find this this particular podcast really interesting because if you grew up in that era, you would have definitely been influenced by Monika, but you just didn't know it."
Yeah, so you never heard about laser? Hello. So I was like a queen of CDR.
Yeah,
because there was a shortage everywhere. Good people just following me, asking for stock.
Absolutely,
Feel bloody good.
Yeah, no, it's really it's really amazing. And you mentioned just before we wrap everything up, but you mentioned you suggest people to get a mentor. Did you ever have a mentor?
So I think people need to have a mentor because for me it's like I'm very lucky. I don't have one person. So one of the people. So I think my every stage of my life I have something to look forward to and to look up to. So I've been with Anthony Robbins. I really listen.
I love Anthony Robbins.
So he's just a great man. And it's probably the only person I look up to.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I go to church with my husband.
Sure.
So my husband become, people. I feel like my husband. You're a sucker, right? So I always learn the best things from everything.
Yeah.
So I now because I'm in a stage, I think maybe believing in God is one of the things I have to spend more time to understand. So that's a much bigger picture, right? I think it's just a phenomenon, and I got support from my husband as well, and that's probably my ultimate mentor.
That's so fantastic. And he's younger than you too. So which means you don't have to have someone older than you to mentor you because it's wisdom comes from really different places.
Yeah, I learn from everybody. So I think one of the things, Jack, just lessons in life, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of things stop us growing is ego.
Yeah.
Okay,
totally.
if you let your guard down, be humble and be open-minded and learn from everybody. From young people, I learn a lot from my cleaners because she's just brilliant. Something I never thought, and she just clean. It's perfect. So I learn constantly.
Yeah.
It's because I don't have the ego.
Yeah.
People think, my God, you reached the way. I don't have to talk about myself, right? So I've a lot of people look up at me. Oh my God, she must be like blah blah blah. You're on TVs and so, I'm just a human being.
Yeah.
Every day I'm learning from every single person. Everything come to my life.
Yeah.
So because I don't have the ego.
That's really amazing. I mean, you do absolutely learn a lot when you drop that. Because ego comes from lots of places. We all have egos to some degree, but when you stop your internal pattern of I might already know this, who the hell does because when you judge someone, that's kind of when you stop learning because you already predetermined that person, right? So when all the businesses and all that stuff was going on and through the CD days, through your even now, right?
Yeah.
There must be stressful situations, stressful times. How did you deal with them? Did you did you have a vice? You mentioned that you don't drink, you don't smoke.
I just don't deal with it. Seriously, this is something like, oh my God, this is so good. I didn't even know I would say that. But if I cannot solve that problem, so I had hardships and like friendships. When you when you grow to a certain level and then you lose some friends and people judge you or people talk bad about you, right?
Sure.
I just ignore it.
Yeah.
Like, because I always go back to my foundation. My foundation is that, do I have a good value? Am I hurting anybody? Have I done anything wrong? If I haven't done anything wrong, I don't give a shit about anything. So I don't
take a jump.
I just, be it, sleep in it and let's see what happened tomorrow. But if something happens, I have to pay for the consequences. If I really think I'm wrong, I would just pay. I just move on. So one thing I say, just keep moving on.
Yeah.
And just ignore the distractions. There's so many of them. If you focus, like you just said, right? If you put your focus on distractions and, something negative, you get it.
Yeah.
I don't people say, somebody's writing about you. I got a couple of negative comments on some of the media,
Yeah.
I said, oh, really? I don't even read it. So if you don't read it, I don't know it. That doesn't bother me. Seriously.
Out of mind, outside, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but like in just what about other stresses? When things are going on too much and when, you have to close a lot of deals and you have to do this, you have to do that, deadlines and this and that. Like, is there a way that you relieve that stress? Some people obviously go exercise. I know that if I don't get my gym session in or my, my tennis in, I go crazy. Right. So,
really?
So that for me is like my outlet. Do you have an outlet?
I don't drink, right? So I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't.
All that presents you get from your, send them my way for Christmas when you get champagne.
I just give it straight to other people.
Send it my way.
No, so I think I do. Sometimes like you mentioned about the overwhelming with the work. You just have to trust people to learn to give the job to others, to trust
hard.
them. If they make mistakes, just don't do that again, right? So trust the people. Otherwise, it's just too much.
Yeah.
Because you cannot be perfect if you do everything yourself. Now, other people is not perfect. Sometimes you think, if I do it, I do better. But you know what? If they're as perfect as you, you wouldn't be existing, right? So I learn how to divert my stress to others. I wouldn't say stress, workload to others.
Yeah.
And I accept the mistakes they made. Yeah, that's probably how I release. Yeah. I don't really, I sleep well. Or maybe I go shopping sometimes. But I don't even have time to go shopping.
You get your personal assistant to shop?
No, I don't do that.
No. Personal shopper. Sorry.
No. I would do my shopping. I love shopping.
You do it yourself.
I want to be your personal shopper, right? So I love shopping.
Yeah, sure.
Before I travel, I make sure I travel 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah.
I don't have a bad habit. I make sure I don't have a bad habit to release my stress. And maybe sports is one of the things. And, I don't. I should do more sports. Just to say.
Yeah.
I think I release my stress pretty well by maybe just giving the job to my husband.
Yeah.
He's young. Take the stress, right?
That's a good way to do it.
That's the way to do it, right? So marry somebody young. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming on today. And if you had one piece of advice to anyone or about anything that you've experienced in your life, well, what would it be?
Yeah, I think thank you so much for having me. I hope your audience can
absolutely.
share some of my...
It's so interesting to hear some of your stories.
Thank you. And just a few things I always share with, this is something I guided by myself. I got a couple of Monika's C's or K's, Monika with K, remember? So I never compare. I never compete. So I might be competitive. I never compete. I only compete with myself. I never complain to other people.
Yeah.
I always congratulate others. I always have compassion for every single thing I do. So because that's really important, and always congratulate myself and for the things that we have done. It's good to learn that. Then you feel like have a sense of achievement all the time. So keep a couple of C's in your pocket. Back pocket, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. That's so great. Thank you so much for coming on today and sharing some of your stories. It's just been, again, really inspiring. And
thank you.
I hope you all the best. And now, for people who want to reach Monika, if you have, massive mansions to sell,
follow my Instagram, Monika Tu 88.
Follow her on Instagram, Monika Tu, Monika with a K, TU 88. Or Black Diamonds, just search for Black Diamonds or what's your website?
Black Diamonds with a Z on the back.com. It always like different. Blackdiamondsdz.com.au.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.